Hey everyone, so I'm going to go ahead and start screen sharing and move through this pretty quickly because I really want to maximize your time. I think this is some great information and I really want to share it with you, but I also want to be considerate of your time. So let's just go ahead and get started. So I shared in the group that I've recently been reading EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey, and there's so much good information in that book itself. So if that's not one that you have read in personal development lately, then I highly encourage it. But what I really want to share with you this week comes from chapter 8, Death of a Salesman. I really feel like this chapter perfectly relates to our inviting and securing challengers, which is something that can be really difficult. And so I just wanted to offer you a little bit more training on that and just give you some insight of what I have found from EntreLeadership and how I'm using the principles that I have been reading in this book particularly to transform my sales process. And I'll get into that more in depth a little later as we go through. But one of the key components that I've pulled out of that book itself is that nothing happens until there is a sale made. And that applies to all different aspects of life. So we're going to talk a little bit about how sales is actually a really important component of what we do as coaches. I know we don't like to look at it like that, but the way that Dave Ramsey presents it in EntreLeadership really makes it more of a process of serving others rather than selling. And so it's just really changed the way that I look at making my challenge pack sales, and I just wanted to provide you with that information so that it can support and help you as well. So as we get started and go through, we're going to talk about inviting in the sales process, how inviting is related to sales, and how we can really look at selling through serving to, one, be of more help to the people that we are working with, but also to be more effective at growing our business and making those sales, which ultimately results in more income. And like I mentioned already, one of the quotes that I pulled from this book that really has transformed my thinking of the whole process is that everyone is in the business of selling and nothing really happens until a sale is made. And the book goes into more depth and even talks about how we as parents are salespeople, how as wives we sell ideas, how we have to sell ideas in the workplace. So just to pull on that a little bit, as a parent, we have to convince our children to do lots of different things, to make good grades, to follow the rules, to do all of those things that we want them to. And we have to go through a specific process to qualify ourselves to encourage them to get the results that we want to. And so if we are able to really tune into this process, then we are going to be much more effective. And again, the book itself talks about how our primary goal as salespeople should be to serve people using this right process. So it's not so much of just sales, it is serving people through selling to them. And so there's a 4-step approach that we need to go through. The first step is qualification. The second step is rapport. The third is education and information. And the 4th step is the close. And so we're going to work through each of those steps and talk a little bit more about what each of those means and how we can really serve people through that process. Let's go ahead and dive in. So one way that we can really fine-tune our process of selling and serving is to keep in mind that every step in the experience is a sale. If we are able to emphasize that each step is important in our sales process and really serving others and fine-tuning how we are supporting them, then that ultimately is going to bring us more customers, repeat customers. We're going to get referrals that way. And honestly, if we remember this, we can vastly increase our efficiency, our joy, and even the profitability of our businesses naturally. Now, it's also important to remember that everyone goes through the steps for every single purchase. And again, as I was reading through the book, it emphasized this from even the smallest purchase to the largest purchase. Everyone has to go through that steps or through those steps. So if you are buying a package of gum, you'll go through all 4 of the steps. Or if you are buying a house, you'll go through all 4 of the steps. The important thing is to remember that when it is a much larger purchase, that you'll take additional time in each step of the process. So obviously, with what we're concerned with encouraging and serving others through helping them find the tools and resources that they need to improve their health, one, the investment side of it is a little less than obviously buying a house, but the long-term benefit and the commitment level is on the higher end for people. So we need to be very thoughtful about the process that we go through with them so that we can most effectively support them in that process. And if we skip any of the steps or if we try to rush through any of them, then that's when you are going to feel that icky feeling, like you are just being more of a salesperson rather than someone serving others and helping them find the tools and resources that they need. So again, the first step in the process is qualification. Qualification is absolutely so important. And we'll get into a little bit more about what qualifying actually means. But I want you to know that skipping or rushing through this step is the number one mistake that we make in our sales process. And so to qualify is really to just feel someone out and to make sure that they are a qualified buyer, that they are in a position that they can and want to and will make a purchase with you. So to qualify someone, to qualify a prospect, we can do this through forming those conversations that we're having with others and the way that we just build up to an invite. And we want to qualify them for the following things. We want to make sure that they have a need and a want to invest in their health. And so this is, in our sales process, to me, the absolute most important, because if someone does not have a need or a want for the health change, then you might as well just stop there, because they aren't going to invest in themselves if they don't have a desire to do it. So you want to emphasize this first, whether you are reaching out to someone who has commented on one of your posts or somebody has reached out to you, really delving in and asking those questions about their goals, about what they've tried in the past, where they are currently. That is the most important step in qualifying for us. But it's important to include all of those others so that you can really have a good idea of where the people are coming from that you're working with. So the other aspects that you want to qualify are that they have the time. Now, this is another really important one for us, because it's easy for people to use the excuse that they don't have the time. But one way I like to emphasize this is just to share how it fits. I mean, most of our programs are 30 minutes a day of working out. Once you get in a good routine of meal planning and prepping, it really saves you time each week rather than causing you or costing you extra time. The money here, when we're qualifying, when we figure out or want to try to figure out about the prospect that we're talking to having the the money or the budget to make the investment, we really need to emphasize the value of the product. So they aren't just getting a workout program, they are getting obviously a workout program, a nutrition plan, they're getting free coaching. When they get involved in a challenge group, they have not only your support, but the support of others. And so just emphasizing the value is a great way to tie into and help people understand that they do have the money to make an investment like this. And then finally, the power. If they don't have the power, the final decision to be the one to say, yes, I am able to make this purchase, then obviously they aren't going to be able to be a qualified buyer for you. So if you are forming someone, you want to be able and to make sure that you're asking questions that help you determine if that person has a need and a want, has the time, has the money, and has the power to make the decision to invest in a challenge pack with you. And again, like I mentioned, as you're going through the forming process, you can be answering questions and asking questions to get more information and qualifying someone as a potential challenger, and answering those questions to highlight the value and help them see how they do qualify as a potential challenger with you. Okay, so the second step in the sales process and how we serve others through selling is rapport. Excuse me. And building rapport is all about gaining trust and adding value. If the person that you are working with does not trust you and does not see how you are adding value to their life, then again, you might as well stop there, because it's not going to go very far. You absolutely have to establish that level of trust with someone to get them to invest with you. And so we can gain trust and add value through our regular posts, through interacting on Facebook, through forming, and through sending useful tips and posts. This is something that I've really been trying to work on lately, instead of just asking about goals and inviting to challenge groups and showing how that's helpful. I will periodically, once I know someone's goals and once we've talked about a few things that they've tried, then I'll either look up a post, or if I come across one that I feel like would be helpful, or even I blog, so sometimes I have some additional resources that way, then I will shoot them a message, just, hey, we haven't talked in a while, but I came across this post and it really related to what we had been talking about before, and I thought of you and thought it would be helpful. And so that's just a great way to just offer more, to add value, to show your prospects that you are about more than just selling a challenge pack, that you really want to help them. So that is one way of building rapport. Another way is networking. Once you have had challengers and you have had good experiences with those challengers, or they have had good results, absolutely ask for referrals, because you are going to automatically have a greater rapport with someone who has come to you through a trusted source. So by networking, using the people that you already know who have had good experiences, that's another really great way to build rapport almost instantly. Once you are, again, working with someone, you're forming them, you're potentially inviting them, you really want to do some research. You need to get to know your prospects. Again, that's a great way to build rapport with them. You may end up looking really silly if you send messages without doing any level of research, or without at least asking some questions to get to know someone first. So make sure that you do your research as you are going through the process with someone, and just get to know them better. That's what our business is all about, is helping others and getting to know them and figuring out how you can support them. And finally, as you get to know them, you really want to sell to each person's individual personality. And so obviously to do that, you need to get to know your prospect and determine what he or she really needs for the close. There are several different personality styles, and depending on each of those styles, that type of person requires a little something different to help them feel comfortable going ahead and making a purchase. So some people just need a little bit of time to think. Some people need more information. They need to know all the details. Some people really need to relate to you and to feel the emotion and to just to connect emotionally with you and with the potential for change. So as you are forming someone and interacting with them on Facebook or through email, however you do, you really want to keep in mind that once you have qualified them as a prospect, that your primary goal should be to build rapport with them, because the closer that you feel to them and the more value that they feel like you are adding to their lives, the more willing they're going to be to hear you out and to go through the rest of the sales process with you. So after you build rapport, that was a tough one. The third step is education and information. And this step is really about, it's really where we are serving and selling together. It's where that all comes together, at least in my mind. And so it's important for us to remember that we are serving, not selling. And you can think about that in terms of a salesperson as wanting to be someone who pulls rather than pushes. So we don't want to push anything on anyone. We don't want to just throw it in their lap and force them to do anything. We want to pull them gently through the process. So we want to offer information that entices them, that encourages them, and just draw them along by almost breadcrumbing the information and how it can change their life and just really what it can do. And so when we're pulling gently and leading them along to where they can be if they invest in a challenge pack, then that will not only make you more comfortable and credible as someone who is trying to ultimately sell a product, but it will also make the person that you're working with more comfortable, because they won't feel like they've been pushed into anything. They won't feel like they have had anything forced upon them. And so education and information as a stage is just about providing all of the information that you can to, one, to sell your product, but also just to make your prospect comfortable about the investment. So one of the analogies that was used in EntreLeadership in the chapter that I mentioned was of a really good waiter. So if you think about it, we all had a good waiter and a bad waiter. And so some of the qualities of a good waiter is that this person is knowledgeable about the product. This person has a pride and passion about the product, and this person has knowledge of their competitor. So if you sat down at a restaurant to get a meal and your waiter came up, they introduced themselves, and they automatically assume that you are a qualified buyer because you sat down and in the restaurant. So they're assuming that you're going to go ahead and buy. So that's the first step, already taken care of. Second step, they'll introduce themselves, share a little bit maybe about themselves, about the restaurant, and we'll just welcome you to the restaurant itself. So that's the second step. You're already in the second step of the sales process, just in having sat down at a restaurant. But in this education stage, the third stage is really where a waiter can make or break it for you. So if they ask you, or you ask for some suggestions from the menu, and they ask you a little bit more about your tastes, what you like, what if you are vegetarian, and then provide you with some suggestions based on that. That is really this stage in action. So they have shown you that they're knowledgeable about the product, and you can just tell by the emphasis that they put on doing their job well, that they have a pride and a passion for what they're doing. And then honestly, if they can offer suggestions compared to some of the other restaurants that you may have tried before, then that really shows you how knowledgeable they are. So that just, like I said, was a really great analogy for me. It really showed me how the sales process worked in another fashion. So if we apply this to our coaching business, we can think about it in how we are relating to people. So are we giving them enough information so that they feel like they know what they're getting when they are investing in a challenge pack? Are we sharing enough of our pride and our passion for the products that we're using? Are we, emphasizing what a difference it has made for our life, so much so that it's easy for someone else to catch that passion and to want to make the investment so that they get the same type of experience as we have had? And do we have knowledge of our competitors? Now, this one is one that I personally struggle with the most. I've had some different people compare different products to Shakeology, and I know I didn't have the best responses because I'm not as aware of some of the other products on the market. But it's something that I am going to commit to learning more about, so that I can share more knowledgeably. And it's never to be, especially when you are talking about a competitor, it's never to devalue those products, because that just makes you look like a poor salesperson, a poor sport, and really could lose sales for you, honestly. But it's just about being able to provide adequate information and just a high level of information about other products in comparison to ours, so that they can see how much that they're getting from the products that we share. And then finally, in this stage, you really want to focus on the benefits, not the products. People aren't going to just buy a challenge pack because it's a workout program. They are going to buy a challenge pack because of the benefits that they can see from it. I can share in my sales process as I'm talking to people that with the help of my challenge pack, with the 21-day fix and Shakeology, I have been able to lose over 40 pounds. I have the highest level of energy that I've ever had, even with a 9-month-old. I have more confidence than I have ever had in my life. So those are the things that I need to emphasize, not just the products. Okay, so the education and information stage is all about providing that information. But when we're really focusing on serving, not selling, it's about presenting that information in a way that is focused on the benefits and what it can really do for the person rather than the product itself. Okay, and the final step in the sales process is the close. So it's important to work through all of the steps and to be effective, because when you do so, you're just going to arrive naturally at your close. Now, even that being said, it will be easier to actually make that close with some people than others. But when we've done our due diligence and effectively worked through the process and qualified our buyer initially, build up rapport with them, provided all of the information that we can, when we get to the close, it should be a relatively smooth transition. It won't come out of the blue. It won't feel rushed or hurried. It will just be the natural next step. And so to effectively close a sale, there are some different strategies that you can use. The first is feel, felt, found, which is one that we talk a lot about, but it's just relating to your potential challengers or coaches' feelings. They shared something with you. You can relate how you feel. You have had similar feelings, and you felt that same way. And then you can share what you found that actually worked. And so you go through each one of those steps, and ultimately what you found was by investing in your challenge pack, you were able to experience all of those benefits that we've talked about before: weight loss, more energy, better sleep, improved mood, all of those things. And so by setting it up in that way, you can relate to someone and they see how it influenced you and how it can impact or influence them to lead them to a close. The second step is the assumptive close. And this type of close is just essentially assuming that they are going to invest in the challenge pack. And so some ways that you can work through an assumptive close is by going ahead and adding someone to the challenge group, and just maybe putting a cap on that, saying that, I need you to invest in your challenge pack by a certain day, and if not, then I will have to remove you from the group. And since they're already in the group experiencing some of the benefits, then most likely they are going to go ahead and take that next step of investing in their pack. Again, for a coach, as you're discussing with them, talk to them as if you have already signed them as a coach, of sharing all the ways that you're going to be connecting, how you can't wait for them to participate in Summit. Again, by making that assumption and talking like they have already done what you want them to do will lead them more naturally to that final close. A third strategy is shut up. And that probably seems kind of funny, and I know it does for me, because I naturally just want to talk and provide more information until I get you to the point where you are jumping in with me. But the shut up strategy is literally asking a question and not saying anything else, giving them time to respond. So, you are asking them when they're going to get started with you, and just allowing them to have the time to think through that and to go ahead and make that next step on their own. The alternative close is giving options that are not yes or no. So rather than just saying, are you going to jump in with me, then you could offer them a specific time frame of when they could. Either, do you want to join this challenge group that will be starting this month, or are you going to participate in the challenge next month? So that, is not necessarily going to get you a challenge pack sale for this month, but it sets them up for not being able to say just yes or no. It gives you more of a time frame, and leads them again to do what you want them to do, by setting them up with either a now or still waiting a little bit option. Okay, a calendar close is just setting the date on it. So again, this works really well for challenge group invites and sales, by giving them an idea of a specific date of when they need to have invested in their challenge pack. You can give them a specific date, and that kind of puts a time limit on it and expedites things a little bit. So I do this pretty frequently with my challenge group invites. Once I have someone who I've gone through the process with and who I know is ready to jump in, then we'll give them a specific date, so that they know when the expectation is that they need to have that investment made so that we can move to the next step. And that works very well. And the final strategy of a close is the integrity close. And this is not only just your integrity, but also the integrity of the person that you're working with. And so you, in this type of close, are giving them the experience in hopes that they'll do business with you. And if the experience is as you promised it would be, then you expect them to follow through. So again, this could relate to going ahead and adding someone to a challenge group so they get a feel for what it is, and giving them, again, that cutoff of when they need to have their challenge pack purchased or whatever the requirements of the group are. So like I said, the close should feel natural. It shouldn't feel rushed. It shouldn't feel thrown upon anyone. And if it does, then it's probably because you haven't taken enough time before in the early stages of the sales process to really provide the information that you need to really invest in someone and work through the process with them. But once you do get there, it's a really great idea to use one of the strategies so that it's not just like you're shooting in the dark to see what the next step is. Okay, so like I said, this chapter that I had read in Entre Leadership was all about serving by selling. And so the ultimate goal in the whole sales process is that we arrive at the point that we are servant sellers. So, obviously we talked about in the beginning how we have to make sales. I mean, that's what this business is based on in terms of growing our business, is helping others see the benefit of the workout programs that we offer and the benefit of Shakeology, and encouraging them to invest in those things. But we don't want it to just be about the sale itself, about serving them through those products. So to arrive as a servant seller, our goal is to really love the products that we're using, to love our customers, and to want to see those two things married together. And when we are so passionate about both of those things, that's when it just all comes together naturally. And it's important that we follow this process because it works. It helps us build relationships rather than just try to make sales. And it helps us remember that we serve, that it's not just about selling, it's about serving. And so what a final quote that I really appreciated from the chapter, and that I feel like just really emphasizes what our goal is on this slide. And this is how it reads: whether you are trying to get a date, persuade your children to get good grades, or do a business deal for money, approach the process with the good of the other person in mind. When you use that approach, you will become a servant seller and will get customers for life. So when ultimately our goal is to serve others as best as we can and to help them find the tools and resources they need to be successful, and to go through the process with them to help them figure out what it is that they need, then that's really when we will be effective as servant sellers. So I hope this team call was beneficial for you. It provided you a little bit more insight into the actual sales process and how you can fine-tune each one of the steps in the process to really learn to serve people through your selling. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing and stop the recording.